Hello everyone, Somber here. Just a real quick video to go through the version 1.6 changes of the Somber Warhammer mod for Dominions 5. Yeah, should be a quick one. Let's just walk through them. So starting off with some changes to the Chaos Dwarves. The Sneaky Gits, that's your kind of stealthy hobgoblin backstabbery guys, now have armor piercing weapons. And I had to decrease the damage, of course, otherwise they would have been too good. But that's similar to the Goblin Sneaky Git Goblin. No, what they call? They're not sneaky gits. They are nasty skulkers. And yeah, so they should be good against things that have very high armor, but they're obviously still not particularly great troops because they're cowardly. They're hobgoblins, etc. The hobgoblin gut stabber, which is the commandery version of a sneaky git, the assassin, also got his gold cost increased because he's now got these AP weapons, so he's a little bit better. And assassins in general are pretty good, so having a very cheap one is quite a feature of a nation. Basic hobgoblins were improved. Both the spearman and the archer were reduced in gold cost by one each. I believe the archer is one gold cost more than the basic hobgoblin. Infernal full plate now costs a few more resources, just a slight increase in resource cost. It may be that I still want to make further tweaks to this because I was finding that people were basically just building the infernal troops and not building their other troop options for Chaos Dwarves, and hopefully this is going to encourage things in that direction. But there may be more tweaks I need to make. Infernal Chosen, which are the special and limited to one per turn version of the Infernals. They have magic weapons as well. They now have halved gold upkeep, and their gold upkeep was their gold cost overall was reduced. This is just to make them more attractive. I think they were really overpriced before, and now hopefully they'll be buildable and usable when you want something that hits free hard, fairly skillfully, has very good protection, and has magic weapons. That's kind of the crucial thing about them. Slave contracts were reduced in cost from 4 gold to 3 gold, but their resource cost was pushed up. That just represents that, of course, if you're taking your slaves and sending them off to battle, you're going to have fewer resources available for doing other things. But their gold cost was a little bit high considering how bad slaves can be. Some of your slaves are good, like Ogre Forge slaves, but for the most part, you get a lot of bad slaves. You get a lot of goblins and humans with no armor and stuff like that. So the gold cost being really low, I think, is hopefully going to keep them being attractive. And I will do a full video on Chaos Dwarves, a national overview to talk about different things you can use slaves for, but I think they're more usable now. And the basic Chaos Dwarf Warrior, his gold cost was reduced as well from 16 to 15, so a very small reduction really, but hopefully it just makes their basic soldier a bit more attractive. I try to make the basic soldier for each nation a little bit underpriced, if anything, just that they're the most attractive option because they are the mainstay of that nation in the lore and the background. Moving on to the greenskins, I gave all shamans reinvigoration 1. This is a really minor change. It's partly just a flavour thing to show that in battle they're feeding off the energy that's generated from battles to kind of reinvigorate themselves, give them more energy. And it's partly just to make their mages slightly better because they're quite weak magically, and I think the greenskins overall are one of the weaker nations. Both of them, Greenskins North and Greenskins South, are somewhat weak. They tend to have a good early game, but then because their magic's not that good and Dominions really is a game about magic, they tend to fall off a little bit. So hopefully this helps their mages be slightly better. And I touched up the Northern Greenskins flag a bit. I still haven't entirely finished with the Northern Greenskins flag. That and the Southern Greenskins flag are both. I increased their size, but I didn't increase their resolution. So I've got a bit more tidying up I can do on both of those flags, I think, just to bring them up to the standards of other nations. Then for High Elves, unicorns are now magic beings. They weren't magic beings before. This is just a fix, and their max age has been corrected. And then the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower also had a problem with its starting and max ages. They just weren't being copied over properly, so I've fixed that. And the Chariot of Crace, or Trace, I never know how to pronounce that province, the recruitment of that has been limited to 2 per turn, so people can't build massive armies of chariots of Crace or Trace anymore. And of course, the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower is also limited. I don't think the Tyrannok Chariot is, so you could build big armies of them. Then, in these minor changes, we finally got some stuff for the Lizardman. Gorrock gets proper item slots. I think Shover on the forums pointed out that he had like 4 arms and no head and just weird stuff like that. I just made a typo when I was putting in the values for his item slots. All sacred spawning. So these next changes are mostly nerfs to do with sacred spawnings. So all sacred spawning troops and commanders now have appropriate gold upkeep. They previously had a gold cost of 1, which meant they basically had no gold upkeep. They did have a tiny bit, but now they've got more similar to the Temple Guards levels of gold upkeep. All sacred spawnings had their research level increased from level 4 to level 5. and they now require Holy 3, except for the Sotek summon, which is of course a blood spell, but that now requires Blood 2 rather than Blood 1. So all of your sacred spawnings, you can't get them as early in the game because they require more research, they have more gold upkeep, and they require Holy 3 for the ones that aren't the blood summon, so you'll need to use Slan to get them. So previously people were replacing all of their national troops basically with these sacred spawnings and going for a very heavy bless, and that's not really the direction I wanted to take the nation. I want the sacred spawnings to be a supplement of something used in the mid game and maybe a bit in the late game to supplement your forces rather than totally replacing all of your national recruits. I also increased the cost of them in gems. Yeah, so the spawning of Sotek was a little bit too cheap, and it's increased cost. It's gone up from 28 to 33, but it gives you an extra troop as well. So basically, it was just a little bit cheap, and it was able to fire off a bit quick. And 28 was a less blood feeling number than 33. In Dominions, they like to have things like 44 blood slaves, 55 blood slaves, 66 blood slaves. So 33 just makes more sense in that theme. The Skink Priest had his gold cost increased from 115 to 120, so this is a very minor change, although you will have tons and tons and tons of Skink Priests, so it actually does add up. So it's a little bit, it's like a 4% cost increase in their gold cost, but the main thing about it is just that 115 is not a very round number, and 120 is. That's the main reason I did it, but also just Skink Priests maybe are a bit too good. I may increase them again in the future to 130 gold, I'm not sure. They're very, very good because they're only one commander point each. Then I also added a note to make it clear what's going on with the Sacred Spawning of Jotl and the second gen Slan with the Bubble Shield. They've got 1 hit point on their stat card, and that was confusing some people. They were going, oh, why has this only got 1 hit point? I don't get it. It's because they have a shield that can only take 1 hit point of damage, and then they switch over to another form. But I've added a note to just make that clear to people. And then the big change for this patch, the point of doing this increase in version basically, is to add the Wood Elves in. So the Wood Elves I'd previously had out in a beta version 1, 0.1 and 0.2. I have now folded them in with a bunch more changes into the main compilation pack, so you won't be able to get the beta version of Wood Elves anymore. You will have to use the compilation pack, but they are now fully integrated into it, and they've had a bunch of stat fixes. I'm sure they're going to need more, and there's more content that I want to add to them. I definitely want to give them some more heroes and things like that, so I would welcome any feedback about them. In particular, but any feedback about anything, get in touch with me. You can let me know in the comments. You can find me on the forum. Go to the forum thread, which is linked in the description. You can also find me on Discord, Somber on Discord. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you. And I hope you enjoy the new version of the Warhammer compilation pack. Thanks for watching.